Sometimes the door to knowledge gets stuck after a while of not being open. Sometimes it's closed shut because certain people would like that knowledge not to be shared. And even still, some people know that on the other side of that door is the truth. And they don't want the truth to get out. But every now and then, that door gives a little bit. And the knowledge and the truth on the other side of that door starts to seep out. Let's see if we can crack this door open. Welcome back. I am your host, The Dark Knight. Now, where did we leave off? A history of ancient Egypt presented by Professor Bob Brier. And when we last left the professor, he was talking about punishments dealt out to the royal family through the royal court because they had it in for the king. Not only was it a conspiracy of the temple priests, but the queen was in on it. She planned the whole thing. That kind of reminds me of an old James Brown song I used to listen to when I was younger. What was it? Something about getting revenge. Big Payback. And there's a part of the song where he says, yeah, you said that my woman had it all arranged. And I when I heard this section of the audiobook, it reminded me of that song. The king's woman had it all arranged. Wow. But in the end, they end up being punished. But they didn't have punishment like we have punishment today. Oh, you can't do that. That's inhuman. Wait a minute. You talking about electrocuting people is wrong. Hanging people for crimes is wrong. But making black people suffer for something that's not their fault, that's legit. Killing black folks for no other reason for being different, that's legitimate. Bull crap. Let's get into it.
Pharaohs always had religious scenes on the walls of their tombs. They never had these daily life scenes. You know when you look in the Egyptian art books and you see people in the fields plowing, you see people fishing and hunting? Those are not the tombs of the kings. No. Those are the tombs of the nobles. They wanted to show the gods what they liked in the next world, so it would be continued in the next. Right? What they liked in this world, so it would be continued in the next. Kings had to put religious texts on their walls. Right? Now, there's one unusual thing about Ramses III's tomb. One. There's a secular scene. He apparently was a music lover. And in a side chapel, it shows two harpers playing the harp, right? They're playing the harp. And they're blind. Very often in Egypt, harpers were shown as blind. The idea was that blind people are perhaps more sensitive to sound, so they went into music. So we have this scene of two harpers who are blind. And this is a tomb that was seen by a guy named Bruce, who was looking for the source of the Nile in the early part of the 19th century. He came into this tomb, he saw the harp.
Okay. As I've said before, Ancient knowledge is a pathway, and that pathway leads to the future. You learn from your ancestors so you can make better decisions in your present that will affect your future. Now, he talked about musicians being blind. How many of you all realize that some of the greatest music in black culture has been made, produced, sang, performed by blind people? I can think of two off the top of my head, and I believe there's a third. I'm not sure. Leave it in a comment. Ray Charles, right off the bat, is one of them. Leave a comment below as to who you think the other two are. And I'm pretty sure I know what one of them is, and the third one I don't remember. But yeah, Ray Charles, he didn't start off blind, but he went blind. But during his time, he was good. He was good. They even made a movie about him. And the music he made, the guy that played Ray Charles in the movie, I can't remember his name, but he's good too. The way he captured his character was good. So shout out to him. So let's get back to it.
And he told the world about it, and it became known as Bruce's tomb. To this day, some people say, oh, it's Bruce's tomb. Other people who don't know it's Ramses III call it the tomb of the two Harpers. Right? So Ramses III is buried in this tomb. His mummy, by the way, a little bit of Egyptological trivia, his mummy was found in the Deir al-Bahari cache. And if you look closely at the mummy, it'll look familiar to you. Why? Many of the mummy movies, they pattern the mummy after Ramses III. And I'll tell you a little detail you can look for. Not the Boris Karloff movie, the famous Boris Karloff movie, the 1932 or 33 movie. That's not Ramses III. But after that movie, there were quite a few sequels because Universal Studios did so well with it that they brought out 3 more movies: The Mummy's Tomb, The Mummy's Curse, The Mummy's Hand. And they were patterning after Ramses III. Now, the mummy had been damaged by tomb robbers. And when it was refurbished in ancient times, the head had come off of the body. So they put a stick kind of where the neck is, put it back on, but they wrapped a big bandage around it to cover that the neck was damaged. And that, if you look at the mummy movies, the mummy always has this big kind of, looks like a scarf almost around his neck. That's because Ramses III's mummy was damaged. But that's Ramses III's mummy. A little bit of Egyptological trivia for you. Now, Ramses III leaves us with a little bit of a mystery. Rules for about 30 years. But if you look at his temple, Medina Habu, united with eternity, where all his great deeds are written on the wall, and there's a wonderful, long list of the dedications of things he gave to the temple. Fantastic. I mean, it goes for 150 feet. Just list after list of oils and gold and this and that. But if you look carefully and read what's on the temple walls, it only tells about the first 11 years of his reign. There is nothing about the last 2 decades that he ruled for. That may be a sign that things were starting to go downhill. Think about it. There was a plot to kill him. He couldn't have been that secure on his throne. So it looks like even during the time of Ramses the Great, Ramses III, things are slipping away. I mean, it could be that Egypt is going downhill already. He is succeeded by 3 sons of his, all named Ramses. Now, everybody in this dynasty from now on is going to be named Ramses. But remember, there's no relation to Ramses the Great. They're just calling themselves Ramses. The 3 sons, you got Ramses IV. Now, he rules for about 6 years. And the good thing, the sign that there's still a little bit of wealth left, a little bit of power, he sends an expedition to the Wadi Hammamat. Now, the Wadi Hammamat is a long march from Thebes towards the Red Sea across a desert. It requires organization. You've got to dig wells. Why does he send an expedition there? black granite is there. He wants the black stones for sarcophagi, for buildings, for temples, and it's hard. But he sends an expedition, so at least there's a sign there's still stability. Things may be slipping away, but there's some stability. And if you go to the Wadi Hammamat, and tourists hardly ever go there, because there's no reason except go to where the black granite is. Fantastic inscriptions on the rocks. Fantastic. These expeditions were sometimes a couple of thousand men. And they knew how to quarry stone. These guys were stone workers. So very often, they wanted to pray. They were religious people, but they didn't have a temple there. So right on the rock, they would carve a statue of their god, and some of them were beautiful. And they would list all the men of the expedition. Under the vizier so-and-so, we came, we quarried so much stone, and they could go there and pray every day when they were finished with their work. So it's rather beautiful. It's in the middle of the desert, and you're just driving along this desert road. It used to be the old caravan route. Nobody takes it anymore. And then all of a sudden, you come in this valley, you got black stones on either side, and they're all inscribed with beautiful hieroglyphs. It's really spectacular. So at least a son of Ramses III is able to send an expedition to the Wadi Hammamat. The other son, Ramses V, he's legitimate succession, but we don't know much about him. I'll tell you the one interesting thing about his mummy, though. He has spots on his face. We're pretty sure he had smallpox. Earliest case of smallpox recorded. But Ramses V had smallpox. And Ramses VI, the other son of Ramses III, doesn't reign too long, but we do know one thing. Egypt is starting to slip out from under him. Foreign territories are lost. They no longer send mining expeditions into the Sinai for turquoise. They don't have the power. The army isn't there. Something is happening. During the next one, Ramses VII, there's an economic turmoil. Prices soar. Inflation. They had inflation just like we do, and it soared. Ramses VIII, we hardly know anything about. Hardly anything. Now, Ramses IX, he has a pretty long reign, but the only thing we know really for his dynasty, there were tomb robbers. This is when the royal tombs are robbed. This is when we start to get real robbing of the Valley of the Kings, and think of what that means. They could no longer protect the valley. I mean, this is where you do have the body of Ramses the Great, the body of Ramses III, if you like, the body of all of these great kings, and they're being plundered. And how do I know that it's during his reign? We have some court records. We have some court records. I'll give you an idea of what they said. They took sort of what we would call depositions. Right? There are records. This is during the reign of Ramses. They got the thieves. They caught them. And this is what one of them said. We found the burial place of the royal wife, his royal wife. We forced it open. We opened their outer coffins, their inner coffins in which they lay. We found this noble mummy of this king equipped like a warrior. A large number of sacred eye amulets and ornaments of gold was at his neck, and his headpiece of gold was on him. So the thieves found this royal tomb intact. The noble mummy of this king was all covered with gold, and his inner coffins were bedrizzled with gold and silver, inside and outside, with inlays of all kinds of precious stones. We appropriated the gold which we found on this noble mummy of this god, and on his eye amulets, his ornaments which were at his neck, and in the coffins in which he lay. We found the royal wife, likewise, and we...
Wow. So they just went on a shopping spree inside people's coffins and sarcophagus, and they did it all to turn a profit. That's why they did it. To turn a fucking profit. You know, we've been in recessions. The United States has had some economic downturns. But I'm not about to go grave robbing just to make some money. That's what I'm not going to do. These people, and all of them wasn't black. From my understanding, all of them wasn't black. And the few that were, yeah, I think they spoke Muslim. But Muslim, in the Muslim community, they have so many different sects. So I'm not trying to bash any good Muslims. because we got ignorant black people too. But what I will say is robbing a grave to sell stuff to white people? No. No. That's not right. I don't agree with that. I mean, really. You got tomb robbers robbing tombs to turn a profit. You got the Dahomey kidnapping blacks, other Africans, and selling them into slavery. When does it end? Then you get to America, you got blacks from other cultures coming to America and ignoring us, but they want the benefits of being black in America. Everything that we created, all the infrastructure, they want that. So instead of banding together, they want to side with the white people, the ignorant white people in power. It's like ever so often through history, we get shitted on by our own people. It's tiring. It's very tiring. Things need to change. Let's get back to the story.
Took all that we found on her, too. We set fire to their inner coffins. We stole their outfit, which we found on them, consisting of objects of gold, silver, bronze, and divided them up among ourselves. We made this gold which we found on these two gods into 8 parts. So there were probably 8 robbers, right? It was a concerted effort altogether. And they took the gold. But they were caught. They were caught. But this happens during the reign of Ramses IX. So we know that Egypt is really going downhill rather quickly. I mean, it's a sad story to see Egypt go down from the time of, greatness to where the mummies are just being robbed. But anyway, Ramses X is another mummy. Oh, another mummy is another pharaoh. Unimportant. All we know is that all foreign territories are lost during his reign. But now we come to the last king of the dynasty, Ramses XI. And we get a few strange things during his reign. First, we have a papyrus from his time, which was originally thought to be more literary than historical, but it's probably historical. It's called the Tale of Wenamun. Now, Wenamun was an official, and he was sent to Byblos to bring back wood, cedar. Now, why is he going to bring back cedar of Lebanon? Well, first of all, you need it for the pharaoh's ships. That's important because there's no forests in Egypt. You're not going to get timber out of Egypt. But also, remember I told you last time about those royal barks, the shrines where the statues were put on and carried that look like boats? You need it for that, and you need doors for the temples, big doors. So Wenamun is sent. This is during the reign of the last king of this dynasty. And what happens to Wenamun? First of all, he's robbed along the way. The king's ambassador is robbed. Never would have happened during a time of greatness. Never. So then he arrives at Byblos. And what does he say to this prince of Byblos that he has to go before? He says, well, give me the cedar of Lebanon anyway. I have a statue of Amun. By the way, he took a statue of Amun with him, who is called Amun of the Road. It's the equivalent of our St. Christopher, right? The patron saint of travelers. He has his little Amun of the Road, and he has the statue with him, and he says to the prince, I brought you Amun. And the prince says, thanks a lot, but where's the money? And, when Amun is trying to be eloquent, he says, our pharaohs have done business with you for many, many generations. And he says, yeah, you're right. But they always paid. Where is the money? Wenamun is in a tight spot. He really is. Eventually, somehow he talks the Prince of Byblos into giving him the wood, the cedars. Probably the king sends money eventually. But he waited for almost a year. He's waiting there for months and months and months, and finally the Cedars have failed. They wait by the river to be loaded on ships, and finally he returns. But one of the things that is curious about this document, we're certain that he sent during the reign of Ramses XI, but it doesn't talk about Ramses XI. It talks about another guy, Herihor. And this is something that happens during the reign of Ramses XI that is shocking. Never in the time of a pharaoh does this happen. A high priest of Amun, by the name of Herihor, builds his own temple at Karnak Temple, dedicated to Khonsu, the son of Amun-Mut, right? And shows himself on the temple as large as the king. As large as the king.
Oh, wow.
Not only that, a little later on in the reign, year 24 of Ramses, he writes his name in a cartouche. This high priest of Amun writes his name in a cartouche, which symbolizes the king's power. We have the high priest of Amun claiming that he is the king of Egypt. Now, how is this possible? Well, remember, Ramses the 11th is ruling in the north, out of the capital in the north. Things are slipping away. He may have all he can handle in the north. So Herihor, this high priest, calls himself king, and we end this dynasty with two people writing their names in cartouches, Ramses the 11th and Herihor. But Herihor adds one little thing to his name. Repetition of births. What he's saying is, there's going to be a renaissance under me. Things are going to get better. And we'll talk about that next time. See you then.
All righty then. That was interesting. I need time to process that one. I ain't even gonna lie. Folks stealing from the grave sites, selling merch that shouldn't be sold, just decline of the leadership, like, and everybody's running around with the same damn name. Like, really? Come on now. So if you say Ramsey raped my wife, okay, which Ramsey? From the 21st dynasty. It was like 5 Ramses from the 21st dynasty. Which one? I don't know. That's it. She said his name was Ramsey. Confusion. Well, if anybody can make sense of this, let's discuss this in the comments below. Thanks for coming by. I'll talk to you later.